Pokémon Legends Arceus is the first time in 26 years that we've received a fresh take on a mainline Pokémon game, and many, including myself, thought it was a huge risk. Arceus is a huge departure from the usual, mostly loved structure, but thankfully, it's one that's paid off and then some for Game Freak. At the time of writing, I've put 87 hours into Arceus. I was determined to finish everything before getting into this review, so I could truly tell you all why this is the best Pokemon game I've played since Gold and Silver. I've always held both games in high regard for having two regions, and of course, the original Red, Blue and Yellow for building the formula Pokemon games would use for the next 26 years. However, it started to wear thin for many fans of the franchise who wanted something fresh. Familiar is comfortable, sure, but it's time for change, and that's where Arceus comes in. Superbly. You have your home base of Jubilife Village, but from there you can travel to different sections of the Hisui region that the game is set in, which will eventually become Sinnoh for those Pearl and Diamond players out there. Each area has its own distinct feel, and of course Pokemon to discover. Plus, you get to unlock and explore each one as you get through the story. Catching wild Pokemon has had the biggest overhaul. Instead of running around in bushes waiting to be ambushed, you see them all existing out in the wild. Some will attack you if they see you, some will pay no attention, and some might even come and say hello. One of my favourite moments in Arceus was having a Pikachu, the first one that I'd seen out in the wild, seem legitimately happy to see me. I fed him some berries, and then very easily caught him. He almost knew what was about to happen. As I mentioned though, not all Pokemon are friendly. The best strategy to catch them is to hide in tall grass and sneak up on them, distract them with berries or use an item to daze them, and then throw a Pokeball. If they spot you or break out, you can still engage in a battle and capture them the old-fashioned way. Best to be careful though, because you yourself can take damage from wild Pokemon outside of battles. If you take too much damage, you black out, and this results in you losing items from your bag before being safely returned to your base. This brings me nicely onto a new kind of Pokemon, called Alphas. These are larger, stronger and more agitated versions of their usual counterparts that spawn in the wild. You can tell they're Alphas because they are huge, and have glowing red eyes. Capturing or defeating them will land you a big bump in XP for your party, and drop some spicy items. Since Arceus is set in the past version of Sinnoh, there is actually no such things as gyms, where trainers earn badges and head for the Elite Four. This means the core objective of the title is completely different to predecessors. Having said that, gyms feel like they've been replaced by encounters with frenzied noble Pokemon. These are encounters where you are actively dodging attacks from aforementioned Pokemon while you throw bombs at them in order to calm and return them to a normal state. Additionally, you need to analyze attack patterns and come up with strategies to effectively defeat them. It's a nice touch that freshens things up further instead of just straight up battling each Pokemon. Now for a few negative points. Yes, there are some. Game Freak has introduced some new elements to battling that I largely dislike. You can now master your Pokemon's moves, allowing you to perform them in one of three ways. You can perform a faster, agile strike, which in theory could allow you to strike twice in a row. You can then attack the usual way, and finally, perform it as a strong style of attack. Again, in theory, this should mean you skip a go, but do more damage. I understand the thought process here is to bring in additional elements of strategy, but in practice I found it to be wildly inconsistent. If that's user error on my part, then it's concerning that the game hasn't been able to teach me how to perform these moves in a correct manner after 87 hours of gameplay. Sometimes I've been attacked 3 times in a row by the same Pokemon and I've not even used a strong style move to skip a turn, leaving me completely baffled. Now, with Arceus, Pokemon looks better than it ever has. While you could argue that that's not too difficult with these mainline games always being handheld exclusives, the way Arceus is presented is the best it can be. At its peak, the game is absolutely stunning, and at its worst, for me, it's hampered only by technical limitations that the system is on. The world has some stunning areas, with diversity, dynamic weather, and a skybox that is amongst the best I've ever seen. Pokemon attacks are better than ever, filled with personality. Character designs are as fun and quirky as you'd expect, with great diversity across the board. On the audio side of things, the music perfectly fits the game and its theme. The battle music is actually the same as previous titles, but a little bit more intense. That said, it's one of only a few tracks I managed to recognise, with the others I believe being original specifically for Arceus. This is the first game you can play completely solo and complete the Pokédex, which is huge. The carrot on the stick to actually do that is there. Having done that and finished everything, I still want to go back in and do more. Shiny hunting is more accessible than ever, and seeing one out in the wild is pretty damn exhilarating. All of that, combined with some fantastic quality of life updates, like easily selecting which Pokemon you want to send out to battle before you go in, show the risk Game Freak took completely paid off. Sure, Pokémon Legends Arceus is not perfect, but it's as good as Pokemon has ever been. The biggest letdown is the console it's being played on. Noticeable frame rate drops, assets loading in later than intended, and a general sense of emptiness in the world could be resolved with even just slightly more powerful hardware. I've not seen a Switch title scream for a Pro model more than Pokémon Legends Arceus. That said, it's still my favourite game of the year so far, one I can see myself continuing to play, diving deeper into every nook and cranny. Technical limitations of the Nintendo Switch aside, Pokémon Legends Arceus redefines what a mainline game in the series can be and should be. A must-play for long-time fans and a superb foundation for future entries in the series.